Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about microaggressions against people with chronic illnesses, chronic pain, invisible illnesses, or lupus. So when I first started thinking about this topic, I wrote down a list of common microaggressions that I come into contact with, and the list got really long, too long. So I thought it was really important to have this video out there, not necessarily just for the people with chronic illness who can commiserate over these things that have been said to us, but also for our friends and family that mean well and they want to talk to us about our different symptoms and different things, but they don't really know how, and they might accidentally commit a microaggression. So first of all, a microaggression is something you say to a person with well-meaning that is actually very offensive, or it has subliminal implications that are insulting. So I have a dear friend who is a psychology doctoral student. We actually met when we were both in our undergrad for psychology in college. And she talks about this in presentations or when she speaks to a class or anything like that. And she always says it's impact over intent. So you mean well, you are trying to be inclusive and loving towards the person, and it is actually something that is hurtful. So let's get started. I have 5 for you today. My list was way too long to do in one, so I'll probably do a couple of these. Number 1, you don't look sick. This is very classic. It has very many variations. Another one is, well, you look great, or something like that when somebody is telling you all the stuff that they're going through. Again, this is an invisible illness. That is kind of the point. People struggle with these things and nobody knows about it. So the subtext of this is actually very hurtful and definitely not what the person intends, but it is, you're faking it, you're too sensitive, you're too whiny, you're overreacting. These are not things that the person means to say, but that's how it feels when people are like, well, you look great, or you look normal, or something like that. It is putting your projection of what sickness should look like on the other person. Another subtext of this is that we have to somehow convince you how sick we are. So when those words come to your mind, a different way of saying it, or something you could say instead, would be, you are so strong. Leave it at that. You don't have to say, oh, you're so strong for, not even looking like you're sick or something. Like, you don't have to go into all that. Just say you are so strong, and then leave it and move on. Number 2, this is also a very common one, equating your pain to theirs. So I'm a person with chronic illness, and I have people say to me whenever I'm describing a symptom or saying, yeah, I don't feel great today because I have X going on, they say, oh, I have that. Another thing I've come into contact with is when you are describing a symptom and people jump in with their own symptom that is similar or sounds similar. People jump in with, I know how you feel. These are all things that is very hard when you're trying to talk to somebody about your chronic illness, which is rare. Also, something that scientists are still trying to come up with why it happens, exactly how to describe what happens, stuff like that. So for a person who is experiencing it, trying to tell a colleague, friend, or family member what is going on with them, and when you jump in with your thing, it shuts us down. The subtext to it is, this is normal. Again, you're too sensitive, or you're overreacting. This is why many people with lupus stop telling their story. They stop describing their symptoms, or they just stop talking to that person who commits this microaggression against them consistently. Or they can give in to the gaslighting of it, which is, oh, if you have this and you're normal, and she has this and she's normal, maybe I really am just overreacting. Maybe it is all in my head. The best thing you can say instead is nothing. Just listen to the person describing what they're going through. Nod along. Tell them you're listening. This is their floor. They have the floor right now. You are not going to jump in with your thing. You can ask more questions about it. You can get to a much fuller knowledge. And if you absolutely have to jump in with your thing because of the conversation, preface it with the worst I've ever had is, not, oh, I've had that before. Because the worst I've ever had implies that what they are going through is part of a chronic illness. And the worst you have ever had as a normal person, or as a person not struggling with illness, is X, Y, and Z. Number 3 is comparing their illness to another person's that you know. Lupus is not common, however, it is common enough to know someone who knows someone who has it. This comes along very commonly when you tell somebody about something you can't do, and then you bring in this anecdotal evidence of somebody else who can. So if you are bedridden and somebody tells you, I have an aunt and she had 5 kids and she's fine and she worked full time and stuff like that with lupus. If the person with lupus is very evolved and very wise and very grown up, they will think, wow, that's amazing. That gives me hope that I can do that. However, the first reaction hearing something like that is typically, I'm not that. Why are you telling me about this person? I am hurting right now. I'm physically hurting. Why are you telling me about this person who also has lupus, who is not hurting right now? Another thing that can happen is with food triggers or external triggers, like some people are really sensitive to chemicals or smells, and so they will start to feel a flare if there's just like a little sensey thing going on in the corner or something like that. It will really irritate their symptoms. I am not one of those people. If someone were to use me as an example for somebody walking into my house and saying, oh, can you please unplug that? That's gonna make me flare. If I were to say to them, well, I have lupus and that doesn't make me flare, very rude, not okay. So the subtext of it is you're being too high maintenance, or you're doing it wrong and they're doing it right. What you can do instead is to say, how can I help? How can I make things better for you? Don't bring up the person that is doing better. Don't bring up the person that doesn't have that particular symptom or that particular trigger. Another thing you can say is just praise the person for knowing exactly what their triggers are and exactly what they need to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Number 4 is being overly accommodating. Not inviting us to things that involves triggers that you know that we have. Not offering us things that you think might be a trigger. Also speaking for us. I have come into contact with all of these, everyone from workmates to family members to even best friends. They're always hurtful, no matter where it's coming from. It could be a beach day. So all of your friends are going to a beach day and you know that person probably won't be able to come because the sun is a major trigger for them. You tell them about the beach day and you say, obviously we're not inviting you because that just sounds like it would be terrible for you. That doesn't feel good for the person not being invited. Another thing is food. Gluten is a very common trigger for people. And so somebody is offering rolls to the table and you just skip that person. Or you speak for them by saying, well, you can't have any because you can't have gluten. Or somebody offers the person with a chronic illness a roll. You speak for that person again and you say, they can't have any, they can't have gluten. The subtext to this is we can't take care of ourselves. It is a feeling of being left out. It is, in extreme cases, a feeling of being ostracized or not being part of the group. Instead, just invite us along. Don't preface it with anything, or if you have to, say we're going on a beach day, it's really important that you're there. What can we do to make sure that you're there? Or what can we do along with a beach day that you can come to if you really can't? Like if we can't set up an umbrella and you can't have sun protective clothing and a lot of sunscreen and stuff like that, can we maybe turn beach day into a movie night and you can come to that? The most important thing with this is to treat us like a normal person and to treat us like any other friend that you would have. Number 5. This one is actually hard for me to talk about because it gets under my skin so bad. So I might turn a little red, I might shake a little bit because this is actually, it makes me ragey, pitying someone. So I'm gonna turn this into a little game. Picture you and you're talking to somebody about your day-to-day life and you say, yeah, I woke up this morning and my alarm went off and I felt like I had a really good night's sleep. And they're like, oh, your alarm went off. So sorry. And you're like, no, it's fine. And then I took a shower and I'm trying this new challenge where I'm like taking a really cold shower just, because there's a lot of scientific benefits and stuff like that. Oh, I'm so sorry you took a cold shower. That sounds terrible. It doesn't feel good, and you're gonna shut up quick if somebody has that reaction to everything that you're saying. A primary distinction with this is empathy versus sympathy. So empathy is feeling with the other person. It is feeling what that person is feeling. Sympathy is imagining yourself in that situation and feeling how you would feel in that situation. Very frickin' different, y'all. I have lupus. I am used to it. I have a lot of things that I have to do for myself because of my illness. And so to me, they're just facts. They're just my day-to-day life. If I come into contact with somebody and I'm talking about my day-to-day life and they greet me with pity or sympathy, where they're saying they're imagining themselves doing those things and how bad that would be for those things, that can be very hurtful to hear. The subtext of it is you are less than. Because you have to go through this, because you have to do this, you are a poor, poor person. Another thing that can be a result of these kind of comments is the person with chronic illness having to jump in and manage your emotions. Something you can say instead is to listen. Also, read the room. Understand if the person is crying and talking about something that is really hard for them. Meet them where they are and just be like, oh yeah, that is terrible. Have that empathetic moment with them where you feel what they are feeling in that moment. Or if they're just talking about it like it's just a day-to-day, no big deal life thing, jump in with, wow, that's so cool, or that's so interesting, or I never thought of it that way, or you're managing this so well. So that's all I have to say on that. I'm sure there will be more in the future. There are way too many out there. If you could, jump down in the comments, let me know different microaggressions that you have experienced with your chronic illness, and I can't wait to talk to you guys later. Bye.